What's up, everybody? We are live on YouTube. Welcome. My name is Roy Nummer of Mundo Albiceleste.com, and we're here to discuss one thing and one thing only, just as we always do, and that is the Argentina national team, or shall I say, the World Cup champions. You could also say the Copa America champions and even the Finalissima champions. But we do have a couple of stuff to get to in regards to Argentina. The main thing we're going to talk about are the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Argentina are playing 2 matches in September, and we know the players that will be there. Lionel Scaloni announced the list on Thursday, and that's what we're going to take a look at. That's what we're going to dissect. We're going to get some starting 11s out of everybody, and we're going to talk about the matches. And just as we always do, we always end up doing a preview prior to the matches. So let's get started. Argentina begin the road to their World Cup title defense on Thursday, September 9. At home at the Monumental against Ecuador, and then that's followed up by a match in altitude in La Paz against Bolivia. But as we always do in these videos, everybody's coming in. Let me know in the comments from where are you watching from. We have a lot of people here. So we got John, a very good and old friend of Mundo Albiceleste. John, all the way from Malaysia. Welcome. We have Siobhan, good evening, Roy, from Miami, from the unofficial home of Lionel Messi, Argentina aside, the unofficial home of the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Hopefully the weather is not affecting you and you're safe from the hurricane going on over there. We have Gorab, welcome all the way from down under, from Australia. Incredible. We've touched on 3 different continents, right? We got 3 different countries as well. So Australia, Malaysia, we got the United States. How's it going, Rian? Good morning. All the way from Nepal as well. Look at that, all the way from Nepal. Welcome. And we even got a question from Janet, an early question from Janet. What's going on with Sergio Romero? Why wasn't he called up? And we're going to discuss all of that. We're going to dissect all of that. As I mentioned, we have Matthias as well, all the way from Canada. Welcome, Matthias. I hope you're safe. Hope you're doing well. Hope the weather's treating you good in Canada, at least for the summer. It hasn't been much of a summer on the East Coast, anyways, of Canada. So hello, everybody, and welcome. And this is what we do here, right? We unite people and we talk about the best team in the world and the best players in the world. So welcome, everybody. Pablo, how are you? Man? Thank you for joining us. Greetings from Argentina. Thank you for joining us, Pablo. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening, and everybody else here as well, whether it's the morning, afternoon, night, evening, whatever it may be. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We even have a Boca fan right here, so great run for Boca in the Libertadores. But let's talk about the national team as well, and that's what we're going to get to. So the road starts in exactly 1 week's time. Excuse me. The road starts in exactly 1 week's time, and let's take a look at the list. So Scaloni called up some new faces this time around, and we have Lucas Beltran, Nicolas Gonzalez, Leandro Paredes, Juan Musso, Lautaro Martinez, Angel Correa, Rodrigo De Paul, Nahuel Molina, Ferman Pasella, Guido Rodriguez, Gonzalo Montiel, Juan Foyt is back in the team, as is Marcos Senesi, Emiliano Martinez, of course, Facundo Buonanotte, Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister, Julian Alvarez, Alejandro Garnacho. We also have, of course, Lisandro Martinez, his teammate at Manchester United, Christian Romero, Nicolas Tagliafico, Ezequiel Palacios, Walter Benitez, Angel Di Maria, Nicolas Otamendi, Lionel Messi, Franco Armani, Alan Velasco. That's a new one for some people. We also have Bruno Zappelli, Thiago Almada, and Lucas Esquivel. So we have a couple of new names in here, and we're already starting with the questions, right? Matias asking why not Redondo, what's going on with Luca Romero? So I will say this about Luca Romero, and I know Matias Sule, there were some questions about them, and this is pertaining to the list. From my understanding, from what I heard, if they were to be called up for the under-23 team, it looked as if maybe the clubs, the European clubs, would not have released them for the under-23 team. That's from my understanding, from what I heard. I could be wrong, but that is something that I heard from somebody. So Oh, we also have Pablo. Pablo commenting. Keep an eye on that boy Zappelli. That dude means madness in the Argentina second division. Yeah, I've heard that. I've absolutely heard that. It looks as if Zappelli will be training with the under 23 team, the Olympic team, but that doesn't mean that they cannot or would not train with the senior team. Now, if we just come back to all the players, and we'll go through this one position at a time. So starting with the goalkeepers that we have here, for example, Emiliano Martinez, Juan Musso, Walter Benitez, and Franco Armani. 4 goalkeepers, in my opinion, and let me know, everybody down below. I believe 4 is a little bit excessive. I don't think we need 4. There was a question earlier from Janet who said, hey, what's going on with Sergio Romero? There were rumors that he was going to come in. He's not. Instead, it's Franco Armani. I don't know why Romero wasn't selected. I'm surprised, but not surprised. I was surprised at the rumors, but I wasn't because of his great form. He's doing very well for Boca, just coming off a penalty shootout win versus Racing in the Copa Libertadores. But as a 4th choice goalkeeper, would Scaloni change Franco Armani for Romero? Does it make much of a difference? Maybe not, right? And maybe Scaloni didn't want to deal with all the media talk of why dropping Armani for Romero, knowing that Armani probably won't even play. Likewise for Romero. And Matias, yeah, already a question mark regarding Romero. And Siobhan saying, I think it's time to say goodbye to Armani. Thank you to him. Look, we spoke about this before in previous videos. Armani made a save at the 2019 Copa America, penalty kick save, which kept Argentina in the tournament. And if he doesn't make that save, in all likelihood, Argentina could have gotten eliminated in the group stages in 2019, and that may have changed the entire trajectory of the national team, right? Because they didn't make the semifinals after that. West Ham Clips, hello, West Ham Clips. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, and welcome. So for me, the 4 goalkeepers are a little bit excessive. In all likelihood, Emiliano Martinez will start both matches. If it's not him, it's going to be interesting to see who would be the second choice goalkeeper if Scaloni goes back to Armani as second choice, or does he give Juan Musso or maybe even Walter Benitez a starting match in one of them? Again, no likelihood. I think it's going to be Martinez. Geronimo Rulli would normally probably have been called up, but he is injured. He's been unfortunate because he was heavily linked with the move to Bayern Munich, but got injured a couple of weeks ago, underwent surgery. We wish him all the best. But if it wasn't for that injury, he probably would have been in this team. Chris, looking at Chris here, Chris, because Dibu has some injury, it's not serious, but 4 goalkeepers are called for safety. So there are reports that, obviously Dibu is not 100%. There are reports that he will be 100% for those 2 matches. Even if he weren't, and I know we're going down a dark path here, but let's say Dibu is not 100%. Adding to what Chris is asking here, do we really need 4 goalkeepers, right? Is 3 usually not enough? And most times 1 is enough, or at most 2. 4 is a little bit excessive. We'll see what gives. Matias saying Benitez deserves second. I agree. I've been a fan of Walter Benitez for several years. I spoke about his inclusion 2 months ago when he first got called up to the national team. I'm very happy with Benitez. Very happy with Juan Musso, who would have been at the World Cup had he not gotten injured and his spot got overtaken by Rulli. But he's back in the team, and nice to see Musso back in there among the fold. So Argentina, spoiled for choice. You could even throw in Ledesma, who had a very, very good season with Cadiz. Done very well in form. He was a goalkeeper for Argentina at the Olympics 2 years ago, and probably Argentina's best player, or one of the best players at least, in that tournament. So Argentina spoiled for choice. We'll say that. I mean, we're even talking about Romero, right, who's 36, if I'm not mistaken, but still playing very, very well. John's mentioning our goalkeeper area is stacked. So even if no Romero, the depth is still unbelievable. It wasn't that long. Our first choices were warming the bench with their clubs. Spot on. John's 100% correct about this one, just as he always is. But it's true. At one point, Dibu wasn't really on the team. And at his club, he was number 2 with Arsenal, and he was on loan before. Armani was the only regular starter. Romero, whenever he was starting for Argentina, wasn't necessarily the number one at his club. Whether it was United or Sampdoria, he was kind of the number one. Then he was on the bench for Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. He went on loan at a couple of places. So it's nice to see all of our goalkeepers starting and actually fighting for a spot, or at least fighting for second and third and fourth place. Siobhan saying any two of these four, Ledesma, Musso, Rulli, and Benitez, of course, after Dibu. I agree. Those would be my choice of goalkeepers. Emiliano Martinez. After that, it's a toss-up. It's really, really a toss-up. You can make a case for Benitez, you can make a case for Musso, for Ledesma, and for Rulli. So we're spoiled for choice. We are absolutely spoiled for choice. And talking about spoiled for choice, and we're going to talk about this. We're absolutely going to talk about this. The defenders. If we look at the defenders here, World Cup winning defenders, world-class defenders, right? I don't think there's any argument that most, if not all of these players are world-class defenders. And if we look at this list, for example, if you go back a couple of years, Argentina were struggling to find a proper center back pairing, struggling to kind of find a left back. I mean, after Sorin, we had Gabrielense, and then it was like, well, Marcos Rojo, but Rojo wasn't really a left back. And after Rojo left, well, who was going to take over him? So there was a lot of talk. Same thing for the right back. After Zanetti, took a while for Zabaleta to get going, to get that starting spot his. Then we had Gabriel Mercado and some other places come in and out, and it took a while. And now we have two solid left backs. We have two solid right backs. And the center backs, I mean, that's the whole other thing. I mean, Nicolas Otamendi, in all likelihood, this will probably be his last full year, at least as a starter. I could see maybe Scaloni making some changes after the Copa America. Maybe it's going to be time for Lisandro Martinez to come in as a starter to play alongside Christian Romero. Who knows? But we are definitely spoiled for choice. Looking at the comments, Pesela needs to go, says Matias. Look, he does add some height. He does add some experience. And he does still play well for Betis. I watch a couple of their matches, and whenever I watch him, he's playing more often than not. He plays pretty well. But I think his time is probably coming up sooner rather than later for his time with the national team. And Siobhan mentioned a name I was going to just talk about. Really happy to see Senesi back. I hope Medina, Valerde, and Perez are not completely out. And this is, these are names that Senesi was not there last time around. He's back in the squad, and he's had individually speaking, a good start with Bournemouth. Maybe they're not, top of the league in the Premier League, but individually he's doing pretty well for himself. Medina not there. Valerde not there as well, right? Those are two guys that were included versus Australia and Indonesia. Not so much this time. And Nehuan Perez as well. He's kind of always been in and out among the crop of players. Matias, are you talking about Pesela? Pesela's a red card waiting to happen. I don't believe he's ever gotten red carded for Argentina, but I could be wrong. I could be very, very wrong. John saying, in this new cycle, I would like to see Senesi give more importance to the team. Still not sure if Lisandro is the long-term partner for Romero, so Scaloni might want to look for other options. That's an interesting one. I was always under the impression, and maybe it's just me, that after Otamendi, Lisandro takes over alongside Christian Romero. John is mentioning Senesi. Why not? Senesi is very, very good. Two different style center backs, I would say. And let's not forget, Lisandro is versatile, can play as left back if need be. We saw him come in at the World Cup whenever Scaloni wanted to play a five-man back line. So we have some options. We absolutely have some options. I'm excited for this. Let me know in the comments, what would be your back line? Do you go with a back four, or do you go with what Scaloni went with at times at the World Cup, a back five? Let me know. In this case, for us, there's no Marcos Acuna. He is injured. So in all likelihood, Tagliafico is going to have to start both matches. Although, and we're going to talk about this when we do preview videos, I could see Scaloni maybe going with a back five or some sort of variation at altitude when they play Bolivia. But I think Tagliafico has to start versus Ecuador next Thursday at home. I think the center back pairing, as always, it's going to be the Otamendi and Romero partnership. On the right side, do you go with Molina or do you go with Nottingham Forest's latest signing, Gonzalo Montiel? Let me know. I would potentially go with Molina. So that would be my back line. Tagliafico alongside the two center backs, and then Molina on the right. Let me know. Matias, why is Gatoni not rated? I don't even think he's starting for Atletico, is he? I can't remember him getting some minutes, and I guess it's going to be difficult for him to get some minutes for his club if he's not getting some minutes, or getting some minutes with his club and get called up for Argentina. All right, let's look at this. So Arjunan says back five. All right, Molina, Romero, Otamendi, Lisandro, and Gonzalez. Let's not forget, it's true. We have Nicolas Gonzalez, who's scoring goals. He scored 2 more today for Fiorentina, helping them qualify for Europe. And he has played left back in the past for Argentina. Ironically enough, or oddly enough, I think it was against Ecuador, was it? Was it Ecuador or Paraguay where he started as left back and scored and kind of got injured in the last qualifiers? It was the first couple of matches. So Adrian would go with the back five. Chauvin, back four, Tagliafico, Licha, Romero, and Molina. So no Otamendi, but Lisandro Martinez instead. I wouldn't argue. Look, I wouldn't argue. I think we're going to get to see Otamendi in place of Lisandro, but I mean, Lisandro's Lisandro, right? He is absolutely a monster. And BC says regarding Montiel should have gone to the Champions League. We'll see what happens. It is a loan deal, so he could potentially, go back to Sevilla and then go elsewhere, maybe elsewhere in the Premier League, or who knows what could happen. But he is on loan, so no matter what happens, he probably is not guaranteed to stay at Nottingham Forest. So we spoke about the goalkeepers. We spoke about the defenders. Now we're getting a lot more options, even more. And we're going to talk about the midfielders. And the midfielders, boy, oh boy, there's one name on here that drew a lot of headlines that we are going to talk about. So Paredes, De Paul, Guido, it looks like Facundo Buonanotte is becoming a regular in this team. He got some minutes in the last 2 matches under Scaloni back in June, so he did get some minutes there. He's called up again. He's not getting the most minutes at Brighton, but obviously there's something that Scaloni likes in him. So he is included. Enzo, obviously, Alexis Palacios, who is quietly having quietly had a very good season last time with Bayer Leverkusen. Thiago Almada, we're going to talk about, and Bruno Zappelli as well, the under-23s. He's going to train with the under-23 team. But Thiago Almada, MLS, he had another 2 assists and a goal a couple of days ago with Atlanta United. He was rumored to go to Europe. It won't happen, at least not yet, but maybe in January. And he's one of the better players in the MLS. And we've been talking about him for a while. So we'll see. We'll see what gives with Thiago Almada. Let me know what's your midfield. And there's no Giovanni Lo Celso. I know. I see the comments. What's going on with Lo Celso? He's not there. It looks like he's not fully fit. So it's the fact that he's not fully fit. Scaloni probably won't test him or give him some minutes in the qualifiers, because it's very important to start the qualifiers with a win, start things off on the right foot, and you want your players 100%. So if Lo Celso's not 100%, you might not want to risk him in the qualifiers. So I totally understand. Regarding Almada, Matias says Almada is a bull, like the old Ortega style. He kind of even looks like him a little bit, and to a certain degree even moves a little bit like him. But yes, I do see the resemblance now that you mention it, Matias. I'm a fan of Almada. It was literally this time last year. I said talent is talent no matter where you play. People were questioning Almada and questioning Scaloni's including him in the team. We're starting to see why. He's a really, really talented player, a really, really good player. I'm happy with him. Chauvin saying cannot change a winning combo. So Chauvin is going to say McAllister, Enzo Fernandez, and Rodrigo de Paul. So the midfield that started the World Cup final versus France, it's a solid midfield. It's difficult to argue this. It's very, very difficult to argue this. So that would probably be my midfield as well. And when you think of Paredes, that's on the bench, and he could even start. He's having a great start to the season with Roma. I spoke about him in Paredes' video. Check it out if you haven't on this channel. I'm happy he went to Roma. He's getting that confidence from Mourinho, and it's paying dividends. So let's not forget about Paredes. John saying we need to get Messi and Co to sit down and lecture Zappelli on the importance of sticking with the blue and white shirt. I know Italy's being a vulture, but senior guys can play an advisory role here. Let's not forget about that as well, right? Italy's constantly, it looks like, trying to nab Argentine players, trying to get them to represent. They've already gotten a couple, one with the senior team, one with the under-20s, and this is another one they're kind of going after. So the fact that he is included for the under-23s, I think, shows, at least to him, that, hey, we are keeping an eye on you, right? You are on the radar. We do want you here. So spot on. A good question here. So, good comment. Sorry, we need holding players for the future. So a Guido, a Paredes. So he's saying that they're up there in age. I'd argue, I think they still got a couple of years left, but that holding midfielder, someone mentioned Federico Redondo at the start of the video. Maybe him for the future, but who knows? West Ham Clip says DePaul, Enzo McAllister, maybe start Paredes in one of the games. I think we're going to see a lot of rotations in the two games, specifically because the second game is at altitude and the game just plays entirely different there. So I do agree in that. I think Paredes starts in one of the games. That I wholeheartedly agree. Matias is going with a midfield 4. So the same one that started the World Cup plus Thiago Almada. It'd be interesting to see Thiago Almada start. I don't know if Scaloni would risk giving him the start in the World Cup, in a World Cup qualifier, especially the first game. But I mean, Scaloni's never wanted to back down and not surprise people. So maybe it's definitely a possibility. Matias talking about the holding midfielders, Redondo. I'm kind of surprised he isn't called up for the under-23s. I really, really am. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a Mascherano decision, a Scaloni decision, a group decision. I don't know, but hopefully he gets included very, very soon because the kid is extremely talented, and I would love to see him get some minutes and at least even train for with the senior national team. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future. Adujan saying Enzo, McAllister, Lo Celso for the Copa, but now Enzo, De Paul, McAllister. De Paul's a must. I'm going to argue that. I'm going to say De Paul has to start. I can't see De Paul being dropped at all. Even if he's on one leg, I think we're always going to see De Paul in midfield. And the other one off the bench, we can't forget Palacios. I know he hasn't always had that massive impact off the bench, but whenever he's gotten the minutes, he can be reliable. He is gaining experience. He is a starter. Xabi Alonso trusts him at Leverkusen, so I'm happy with him. And we can't forget him as a sub. And someone like Facundo Buonanotte, still learning, still growing, part of the team as well. One for the future. De Paul's the anchor. There you go. That's it. He's the one that holds everything together, right? He's that glue. So I do agree about that. Siobhan saying for the Olympics, the finalists, I think Redondo and Co will be back. I agree with that. I would like to hope so. Anyways, I would like to hope so. All right. So that was the midfield. So we spoke about the goalkeepers. We spoke about the defenders. We spoke about the midfielders. Obviously, that leaves us with the forwards and some interesting inclusions. And obviously, someone like Dybala, not there. We're going to talk about Dybala in a second. But Nicolas Gonzalez on fire, Lautaro on fire, Angel Correa on fire, Julian Alvarez on fire, Alejandro Garnacho not on fire, but still raw talent, still young. We'll learn. Di Maria's Di Maria, Messi's Messi, of course. That goes without saying. And Lucas Beltran. It looks as if Beltran was selected by Scaloni himself, so he would be with the senior team and not the under-23s. whereas Alan Velasco of FC Dallas has also been called up, but he would be with the under-23 team. So let me know, what does everybody think about the forwards? What would be your front three or your front two, or how would you set up with the forwards? I gotta think we're gonna get Messi, Di Maria, and then we're getting that number 9. And I don't know if we're gonna get Lautaro or Julian up front. Lautaro's used to the qualifiers. He was our number 9 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And then suddenly that injury at the World Cup, Julian just exploded, took the mantle, ran with it, and has done an extraordinary job. And Lautaro's back, and he's back healthy. And this is a great dilemma. This is a great problem for Scaloni to have. It really, really is, because you have 2 world-class number 9s, and you have someone, for example, even like a Lucas Beltran, just coming into the team. So you have options. No Dybala, and I think that's consistently been the problem with Dybala. We spoke about it in the past. Unfortunately, it's never his talent. No one, I think, has ever questioned his talent. It's more the fitness. Can he stay fit? Can he stay healthy? And I think, whenever people would ask, well, why doesn't he start with Messi? Is it because he can't play with Messi? I don't even think it's that. It's how do you get that chemistry when you're not always fit? And it's unfortunate because Dybala is extremely talented, but injuries are taking up a lot of his minutes, let's say, unfortunately. But let's take a look at the chat. Oh, Matthias is mentioning another name, Giovanni Simeone. I don't know. And what's interesting about Simeone is he was part of Scaloni's cycle at the start, right? When Scaloni first took over, Simeone was called up. He, if I'm not mistaken, scored even in the debut match. Got a couple of matches later on, but since the pandemic, he hasn't really been called up, hasn't really done much with Argentina, and it's interesting. And I don't know if it's because he's not much of a starter with Napoli. He's a different kind of number 9. He's really an old school number 9. I don't know. Maybe Scaloni sees something in training he doesn't like. I don't know what it is. I've seen some people on social media talk about someone like Mauro Icardi as well. Another pure number 9, just scoring goals, although Icardi is probably more off the pitch than maybe on the pitch. But even though I think there is a place for someone like a Simeone or someone like an Icardi, their style, right? In the team, at least as substitutes. We'll see. All right. Chauvin, so Chauvin go Nicolas Gonzalez, Lautaro Martinez, and Messi, Di Maria, and Alvarez come off the bench. It's a possibility. Nicolas Gonzalez was starting ahead of Di Maria in the qualifiers for the better part of the qualifiers up until, even the Copa America, essentially, right? Gonzalez was kind of rotating with Di Maria. So this is not far-fetched. We could absolutely see something like this. Matias is saying no Icardi. I'm not saying I want Icardi. I'm just saying like it's another person that's scoring goals and a different kind of number 9, a pure number 9 from what we have. But I understand the argument. Trust me, now I'm not saying I want Icardi on the team. I'm just saying different style. That's all. So Siobhan's saying Lautaro's on fire. He is. He's arguably in better form than Alvarez, although I think Alvarez appears to be playing a different role this season with City. More of a center forward / even playmaker, midfielder at times. It's weird. Pep is giving Alvarez a free roam, which is cool to see, which is very interesting to see. Adrian, De Paul, Messi, Alvarez. I will never leave his bodyguard. Roy De Paul, Enzo McAllister, Lo Celso forward, Alvarez, Messi. All right, excellent. No. I understand, Matthias. I trust me, and I'm of that school or that train of thought when it comes to what we're talking about here. So Adrian says after 60 minutes, Di Maria and Garnacho. All right, yeah, tire them out. George, welcome, George. Hello. George saying Luca Romero needs to be around the veterans while they are still around. Man, I agree. I think a lot of these under 23 players or under 20 players, even Romero, Redondo, Matias Sule, a couple of others as well mentioned in the chat. And I think they're going to get their chance. I think they're absolutely going to get the chance. And I think some of the younger players that are becoming veterans almost on this team, if you look like someone like Lo Celso, Paredes, De Paul, right? These are guys that have been there for several years now, 4 or 5 years. I think they're going to know how to incorporate the younger players as well. So I'm not overly worried, but I get what you mean, right? You got to use these players as much as you can, get them to learn from the best, right? To learn from the best. So my opinion, my front three, as I said, Messi, Di Maria, and Lautaro or Julian, pick your poison, whoever you want. And off the bench, I would go with Garnacho just to tire them out even more. Nicolas Gonzalez as well, an excellent two-way player. I continuously sing his praises. I love Nicolas Gonzalez. I'm a big, big fan. And I'm also very happy to see Angel Correa in there. Mentioned it earlier, I'll mention it again. I think we get different forwards for the second match versus Bolivia. Maybe Scaloni is going to want to save Di Maria for Bolivia. Di Maria has like 20 lungs, and the guy's incredible. And we've seen him play at altitude before, and he's been very, very good for Argentina. So maybe Di Maria doesn't start versus Ecuador. Maybe we do get a Nicolas Gonzalez, and we get Di Maria starting the second match versus Bolivia. I don't know. Time will tell. But yeah, so is Garnacho really a proper replacement for Di Maria? He's a young player, right? He's a young player strictly on the left wing, or at least it appears to be strictly on the left wing from what we've seen of him for the past year and a half. He's still young. That's the only thing. But he's obviously talented. He's a good dribbler. He's extremely fast. A decent eye for goal, someone his age. So I think with time, I would see, or I could see Garnacho being eventually the replacement for Di Maria. I'm not saying he's going to overtake Di Maria and all that, but I'm just saying I think he'd be an okay replacement, at least for now. He's still very, very young, right? Adrian's asking, we have the best squad in the world. I don't see why not. World Cup champions, Copa America champions, the depth in pretty much every single position on this team is rivaled, in my opinion, only by France. Really only by France. Man for man, you could take the Argentina starting 11, put them on the bench, and use the substitutes, and you're still going to get a world-class team. And I really mean that. I'm not blind. It's not a passion thing. I truly think so. When you could replace Lautaro with Julian or replace Julian with Lautaro, that's something. When you could replace Di Maria with a Nicolas Gonzalez, and I know people are going to, look at me and say, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same. No. Nicolas Gonzalez gets the job done, and he's gotten the job done for Argentina in the past, and he'll continue to do so. And he's just hitting his peak. Chauvin saying, I would rather have a fit Angel Correa than an unfit Dybala. Yeah, I would too, and I think that's very fair to say, right? I think that's very, very fair to say. Correa, in my opinion, is underrated. I love Dybala, but any unfit player, not just Dybala, but any unfit player, it's not useful, I don't think anyways, to really have them on the team, depending on the severity of it all. Matthias saying, defensive midfielders and wing backs. I do know France may have us. So, see, defensive midfielders under Scaloni, do we really have one? Do we really play with a pure defensive midfielder? Paredes is not a pure defensive midfielder, right? Neither is Enzo Fernandez, neither is De Paul, neither is Lo Celso. And it's almost a hybrid. It's like they kind of, well, okay, you go up, I'm going to stay back. Okay, you go up, I stay back. So maybe in terms of a pure defensive midfielder, potentially, yeah, sure. But does Argentina under Scaloni really play with a pure defensive midfielder? It's debatable, right? It is debatable, in my opinion. I'm not saying we don't, but it's a different style. It's really, really a different style. As for wingbacks, I mean, if you look at the names, at least for Argentina, Molina, in my opinion, is extremely underrated. Extremely underrated. I think Montiel lines up against South American teams, Brazil, Uruguay, whomever, as well as any other fullback in the world. Nicolas Tagliafico, I don't believe gets enough credit I think he's an extremely, extremely smart player, extremely talented, knows when to attack, knows when to drop back. You have Marcos Acuna, who is versatile on the left, can practically play anywhere on the left, including left wing. Very physical, a good crosser of the ball. Again, maybe France has bigger names, sure, but on the pitch, it's debatable. It is debatable, right? Let's not forget what Di Maria did to France at the World Cup. Let's not forget that. And I'm convinced, I said this before, I'm convinced if Nicolas Gonzalez was fit at the World Cup and he comes in place of Di Maria in that final does not go to penalty kicks. It doesn't even go to extra time. I'm convinced. Hey, it is what it is. Argentina went and they won, so I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying. It's just me. Maybe it's just me. All right, let's look at the comments because I went on a little tangent rant, so we'll see. We'll see about that. West Ham Cliff says it's not only the depth, but there's also a lot of different types of players. Yes, exactly. Opposition managers will always have a headache when setting up against Argentina. And that's true because you don't know what you're going to get. Yes, you're going to get a DePaul that's starting, but how, what, why? We saw it against the Dutch. Scaloni went with 5 at the back. Lisandro Martinez. We saw it throughout the World Cup as well. Lisandro would come in sometimes. Who's going to start? Acuna or Tagliafico, Montiel or Molina? Teams don't know. That's the advantage, and that's a good thing. Matias, DePaul did all the work. Otamendi covered, so you have a point. See, there's no pure defensive midfielder. So maybe on paper France does, sure, but we don't really play with one. All right, Mohamed, welcome, Mohamed. He says Marco Pellegrino, Miramon, Bariel, Varela, Prestiani, Brian Kufre. These players should be given the chance to play with the seniors. We have qualifiers coming up in September. We have qualifiers coming up in October and qualifiers coming up in November. So we have 3 months, or Mascherano technically has 3 months to get whomever he wants training with the senior players. I don't disagree. I do agree with you that it should happen. We'll see. Hopefully the European clubs release the under-23 players, get them to join, and we'll have to see about that. But I agree, they should. Yeah, Matias loves Molina. There you are. All right. Siobhan, I think Scaloni should swap position with McAllister and Enzo and try Enzo in a more attacking role. But see, that's the thing. McAllister this season with Liverpool is playing a more defensive role, and Enzo with Chelsea a more attacking role. But with Argentina, Enzo is playing more defensive and Alexis more attacking. So versatile players. Welcome, Johnny. Johnny says Federico Redondo would be a great 5 in Argentina. I don't disagree. And Tagliafico earned his credit in the finals, played amazing. He had a great World Cup altogether. I said this live when we went on air after the Saudi Arabia match. Tagliafico was Argentina's best player in that opening half, in that first half versus Saudi Arabia. He did a very good job. And Tagliafico had a great World Cup. I'm very, very happy with him. Yes, I saw that as well, Johnny. There's reports that Spain are trying to get Nicolas Paz. I would say good luck with that. I think Nicolas Paz is probably going to end up playing for Argentina. I'm not surprised Spain is trying that. Spain has talent, but it's obviously not the 2008 to 2012 Spain, right? It's not that kind of talent. That was a once in a generation for them. But Spain could be trying to get other players, from I want to say different nationalities is obviously eligible to play for Spain. But Spain, like Italy, you can see them going for players that have dual citizenships, right? Dual nationalities. Edwin, welcome, Edwin, from the Fiji Islands. Incredible. Welcome, Edwin. I want to say good afternoon. I'm not sure about the time zone. But hello, Edwin, and welcome. BC says, Latin Americans only play for Europeans when they cannot play here. It's the opposite of African. I'm not gonna speak about the African part, but Latin American players, if they get the chance to represent Latin American countries, I feel like you're right. They'll tend to go more for Latin America. rather than Europe. I think, for example, Deco, right? Deco's Brazilian. I think if given the chance, if he would have been able to play for Brazil or start for Brazil, he probably would have picked them over Portugal. Maybe it's just a guess, but I do agree. BC like Cameronesi, yeah. You also have Trezeguet, David Trezeguet, with France in '98, also eligible to play for Argentina. Janet, take care, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for the support. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, Janet. All right, Edwin. Okay, so it is afternoon. There you go. It is afternoon. Nice. Yeah, BC. There you go. Diego Costa's another one. Diego Costa actually represented Brazil. Yes, he did. And then he ended up playing for Spain in 2014. If I'm not mistaken, it was 14. And they crashed out in the group. So, yeah, it has happened before. It tends to happen more with Brazilians, I feel like, more than maybe other nationalities. All right, Johnny's asking, how do we feel about Garnacho this season? Look, he started United's first 2 matches, and I think he got dropped to the bench in the third. He's still young. He's going to learn. He's going to have ups. He's going to have downs, just like every player in the world. And the good thing about him is he seems confident. He has a lot of confidence in him, which is absolutely a good thing. So it's still very early. We're 3-4 matches into the season technically for every team. I'm sure he's going to have a good season, a solid season. And whenever you're talking about an 18, 19, or even 20-year-old player, more often than not, if they get regular minutes throughout the season, when you take a look at their season, their progress from August all the way till May, you tend to see a massive improvement. And I think that's what we're going to get with Garnacho. I think that's what we're going to get with him. Pablo, hello, Pablo. Pablo saying Molina is going to have a monster qualifier start in the making. Dude, I agree. I 1,000% agree. He's a goal scorer as well. he scores some important goals, and defense improved a lot under Diego Simeone, and that's good to see as well. Arjunan says left back after Tagliafico and Acuna. Right back we have Foyth, Molina, Montiel. Left backs are concerned. Maybe we should consider develop Nicolas Gonzalez. There's Valentin Barco. Valentin Barco of Boca Juniors, an excellent talent, still very young. We saw him at the Under-20 World Cup. Not 100% fit for Boca, but a tremendous talent. You want to talk about confidence, ability on the ball. You could practically play Barco in midfield and he would not look out of position. I think the future, the next couple of years, I think it's going to be Valentin Barco, but you never know. You never know what could happen. You never know who could emerge. You could be right. We could end up getting Nicolas Gonzalez as left back. Let's not forget Lisandro Martinez as well. So there are some options. There are absolutely some options. You got Lucas Esquivel of Atletico Paranaense as well in Brazil. There's another one that could play left back. Well, that is a left back. So you never know. BC talking about Italy, yeah, as well. A big question. Messi's now just an ambassador, one more Copa. I don't know, man. This is a tough one, and we always kind of flirt with this idea and this question regarding Messi and what's going to happen, and it somehow always comes up. After the World Cup, I would have said, you know what? It's Messi. He's probably just going to play for the Copa, and that's it. But at 36, you see the love that he has regained after the World Cup, and specifically after leaving PSG. And you see him having a lot of fun with Inter Miami, being competitive, being a leader. You see that at 36. And you think to yourself, well, why not? Why can't he play in 3 years' time? And I'm being honest, he continues to develop his game. By him playing in 3 years' time, I don't mean necessarily as a starter. Maybe. It's Messi. He could. He's still the best player in the world at his age. So it doesn't have to be as a starter, maybe even as a substitute. But the most important thing about Messi right now is, he's very happy. He's playing club football very happy. And it's not only now when he's with Argentina. So that's very good to see. That's very, very good to see. Basically saying Messi will return to Europe. Zlatan did too and he got bored. I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing. And we're going to talk about Messi. Well, I know we are. We're going to get more in detail, more in depth. But it's not the same. I think Zlatan was maybe went to the MLS to help establish more his brand, maybe the aura around him of, I'm Zlatan. And I think him going back to Italy wasn't much of a surprise. I don't see Messi going back to Europe. I personally don't. At least nothing has me thinking he would even. I could see maybe a potential deal of him being a part owner or having some sort of stocks with Inter Miami. I think he retires in Miami. Unless we get him going back for one last season with Barcelona, which is probably what you're alluding to. Even at that, I don't see it. At least not yet. But crazier things have happened in football, so who knows, right? Who knows? Matias saying, that's true, Roger Milla, right? What he did to Argentina in 1990 at 40. Yeah, that opening match at the World Cup in 1990 in Italy. You never know. And I mean, at 36, you're still the best player in the world. How much of a decline would he really have, or could he really have in 3 years? If there even is some decline, right? So I don't know. It's a very good question regarding Messi. Time will tell. Time will tell. I think we'll get a better idea after the Copa America because we're going to be in the middle of the qualifiers. Is Messi really going to retire in the middle of the qualifiers? I don't know, right? Is he just he'll ensure Argentina qualifies, then he steps aside, or is it just a matter of, hey, you know what? In all likelihood, they're going to qualify. Let's play. Let's go to the World Cup. I don't know. All right. So talking about Messi, this is now his 6th World Cup qualifying campaign. His 6th. So Lionel Messi, 6 World Cup qualifying campaigns. Started in 2006, where he played, if I'm not mistaken, 3 qualifying matches, had an assist, I believe, versus Peru. And then obviously after that, just became the man, the go-to, the focal point in 2010, alongside Riquelme. But Riquelme stepped aside, retired in the middle of the qualifiers for 2010. And then it just became the Messi show, the reliance on Messi. And we all remembered what happened in 2010. Came up essentially to the last match or two versus Peru, versus Uruguay. Bolatti got the goal in Montevideo to give Argentina the win and officially the qualification. Before that, Palermo in the rain versus Peru. We saw him completely dominate in 2014. The build up to the qualifiers, him, Agüero, Di Maria, Higuain. We saw that. We saw him literally drag Argentina to the World Cup in 2018 for the qualifiers. 2022, I should have fixed this. It says 2022 twice there, but 2022, I mean, we saw what he did. Incredible. And that was incredible. Not much more to say. 2026, qualifiers number 6. Yes, Matias Riquelme retired. We're not going to get into the whole Riquelme show now because we could stay here for a very long time. But hey, Naimul, sorry, coming back. Naimul, all the way from Japan. Welcome, Naimul. That's incredible. Welcome. I don't believe we've ever had a viewer. I know we have had viewers from Japan, but it's been a while. Welcome, Naimul. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope so. But yeah, so Messi 2026, getting to 6 qualifiers now. West Ham says there's no reason Messi couldn't play in 2026. I'm sure the other 10 players would be more than happy to do his running for him, and he'll still be one of the best. I'd argue and say he'd still be the best and not one of the best. And Rio, welcome, Rio. Hello. If can he still play at 36? I'm sure Messi could play another World Cup in a couple of years. I'd love to see him lift another World Cup without penalties, so he can. I would love to see him lift another World Cup. Obviously, that we don't even need to say that. Penalties or not, I think he's already shut people's mouths. There's nothing left for even their biggest hater. There's even his biggest hater. There's nothing for them to say, right? And there you go. Yeah, BC, right? Argentina has the talent. Even if, and I'm being very honest, even if you put Messi aside, this is a stacked Argentina team. Messi is the difference maker, don't get me wrong, and Di Maria as well. But this is a stacked Argentina team. And they could absolutely still win the World Cup without him. They could win it with him. They could win it without him. I am convinced. I'm absolutely this convinced, and I have so much confidence in this team. Obviously, I'd love for him to play another World Cup and win another World Cup, but if not, I'm convinced they could still win the World Cup. Exactly, Matias, right? He did it all and then some, and then we're not going to get into 2014. That one still hurts a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean a lot. But hey, Messi got the ending he wanted. Finally, we all got the ending we wanted, at least. Not just the Copa America, the Finalissima, but the World Cup, right? The biggest ending that we all could have wanted, and the greatest final of all time. Probably greatest World Cup match ever, I think. And there's been some classics, but it's at least the greatest final of all time. At least the greatest final of all time. But anyways, so that is that. We have Argentina versus Ecuador on September 9, and that is next Thursday, so in 1 week's time. And we're going to preview that, and we're also going to do separate videos talking about Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez, kind of comparing the two a little bit, but more about getting a debate of who would you start, and would you even start them both? Is there room for both? I think there is, but we'll see. We're going to talk about that in a completely separate video. Anyways, everybody. So that is that. We have, as I just said, a couple more videos, live discussions coming up, recorded videos coming up in the next week. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Trust me, we are just getting started with the World Cup qualifiers. 2 matches this month, 2 matches in October. And in November, Argentina versus Uruguay and Argentina versus Brazil. The 2 biggest matches in South America are happening in November. But before we even get to November, we got to get through next week. And technically the week after. Argentina versus Ecuador, Argentina versus Bolivia after that. And yeah, so a big thank you to everybody here, everybody joining us in the chat, everybody watching us on replay. Leave a comment. Let me know what would be your starting 11, and let me know what's your ideal 11. Like, if there's an 11 that you would really want to go with every single match, what is it? Let me know. With that said, thank you, everybody. Thank you. West Ham, absolutely. Hit that like button, everybody, if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe, hit the notifications button to be the first person notified as soon as a new video drops. Rio, thank you for the love. Thank you for the support, everybody. We couldn't do this without you. We really couldn't. It's what makes it fun. It's what makes it enjoyable. Take care, everybody. And thank you. Take care. All the best, everybody.